Do you ever find yourself saying yes when you want to say no? Maybe it's agreeing to plans you'd rather skip, taking on extra work to help someone out, or bending over backward to make someone else happy, even if it means putting your own needs aside. On the surface, people-pleasing can seem harmless, maybe even generous or kind. After all, you're helping others, right? You're showing that you care, that you're willing to go out of your way to make things easier for everyone else. But what if I told you that beneath this surface of kindness and selflessness, there's a dark truth? A truth that might actually be sabotaging your happiness and success without you even realizing it? You see, we often think of people-pleasing as a positive quality. We're told, especially from a young age, that putting others first makes us good, likable, even selfless. It's something society praises and encourages. But here's where things take a turn. People-pleasing often doesn't come from pure generosity. In fact, it's usually rooted in something much darker and more complex than that. Underneath the habit of people-pleasing lies fear. Fear of rejection, fear of disappointing others, fear of being seen as selfish, and ultimately, fear of not being enough. Somewhere along the way, we started to believe that in order to be loved, accepted, or valued, we have to meet others' expectations, always be agreeable, and constantly make sure we're not rocking the boat. This fear can be incredibly powerful. It tells us that we need to stay on everyone's good side, that we need to prove our worth by putting everyone else's needs before our own. It convinces us that if we don't do these things, people might walk away, judge us, or think less of us. So we say yes when we mean no. We stretch ourselves thin trying to please everyone around us, and we make sure to always keep others comfortable and happy. But the harsh reality? Every time you say yes to something you don't truly want, every time you put others' comfort over your own needs, you're chipping away at your own sense of self. The more you try to make everyone else happy at your own expense, the further you drift from your true self. What's worse is that people-pleasing creates a vicious cycle. The more you look to others for validation, the more dependent you become on their approval, and the less able you are to find that approval within yourself. Over time, your own desires, values, and boundaries become blurred or even lost. You start to forget who you are and what you want because you're so focused on being who others want you to be. And here's where the true cost of people-pleasing reveals itself. As you drift further from your true self, you lose touch with your own happiness and sense of purpose. You may feel empty, unfulfilled, or even resentful, but because you've spent so long putting others first, it's hard to know how to break free. This cycle can be incredibly hard to recognize, especially because people-pleasing often feels rewarding at first. When we put others first, we receive praise, affection, and acceptance. We feel like we're doing the right thing, and for a moment, it fills the gap we feel inside. But this approval is fleeting. Eventually, we're left looking for the next thing we can do to make someone else happy, just to feel that sense of worth again. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole at the bottom. The more you pour in, the more drains out, leaving you in a constant state of needing more. So, where does that leave us? If people-pleasing is rooted in fear and constantly drains us, is there a way out? The answer is yes, but it requires us to take a hard look at our beliefs about self-worth and acceptance. It means challenging the idea that our value is tied to what others think or need from us. And most importantly, it means learning to say no when we need to, without guilt or fear. It's about reclaiming our boundaries, respecting our own needs, and realizing that true self-worth comes from within. By understanding the dark truth behind people-pleasing, we can start to break free from its grip. We can learn to find our worth in who we are, not in what we do for others. And when we do that, we can finally start living in alignment with our true selves, without the constant pressure to prove, please, or seek approval. Instead, we find a deeper, lasting sense of peace and confidence that no amount of people-pleasing could ever bring. Imagine that. All those times you said yes because you didn't want to rock the boat or disappoint anyone. It wasn't just about avoiding conflict or keeping the peace. Beneath each yes was something far more complicated. It was about feeling secure, trying to shape how others see you, and ensuring that you'd be safe in their approval. People-pleasing feels like a small sacrifice in the moment, a way to keep things easy, to avoid uncomfortable confrontations. But it's actually a subtle trap, a cycle that, once it starts, becomes harder and harder to escape. In the short term, it may ease the tension, but in the long run, it only deepens feelings of insecurity, self-doubt, and exhaustion. It's a pattern that doesn't just sap your energy, it slowly erodes your sense of self, leaving you wondering where your needs and desires even fit in. Why do so many of us fall into this trap? It often starts with a simple, powerful belief. If I make people happy, I'll be loved and accepted. From a young age, we learn that approval from others, especially those closest to us, is a source of validation. Maybe we noticed that praise and affection came when we did what was expected or made things easier for others. When we were quiet, obedient, and accommodating, it seemed to make people happier. Over time, we started linking love and acceptance with keeping others happy. And before we know it, this becomes more than a behavior. It becomes a habit, even an addiction. We begin to crave external approval because it temporarily fills a gap within us. But as anyone who has experienced this cycle knows, it's never truly enough. The approval fades, the praise is short-lived, and we're left feeling empty, always seeking the next moment of validation to fill that void. If any of this resonates, know that you're not alone. People-pleasing is a deeply common struggle because so many of us are taught, either consciously or unconsciously, that our worth is tied to how others see us. But recognizing this for what it truly is, the need for validation and a fear of rejection, is the first step toward breaking free. People-pleasing isn't just a harmless habit. It has a cost, and the biggest cost is your own happiness and self-worth. When you constantly prioritize others' needs and expectations over your own, you're denying yourself the chance to live authentically. You're silencing your voice and burying your true desires beneath layers of perceived obligations and social pressures. Imagine what life would look like if you could let go of that constant need for approval. If you could give yourself permission to prioritize your own happiness without worrying about disappointing others. It's a powerful thought, isn't it? But making it a reality means challenging some of the beliefs that have been with you for a long time. It means recognizing that love and acceptance don't have to be earned by sacrificing your well-being. True self-worth doesn't come from what others think of you. It comes from valuing yourself from within. Breaking free from people-pleasing requires courage. It involves learning to sit with the discomfort of disappointing others and accepting that not everyone's opinion of you will be positive, but it's also a chance to reclaim your life, to start honoring your needs and setting boundaries that protect your peace. It's about learning to say no without guilt and realizing that your worth isn't tied to how well you can accommodate everyone around you. So, the next time you feel that familiar tug to put someone else's needs above your own, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this out of genuine kindness, or am I trying to control how this person sees me? Remind yourself that you don't have to shape yourself around others to be valued. By embracing this truth, you're taking a step towards freeing yourself from the cycle of people-pleasing. You're giving yourself permission to live authentically and to fill that inner gap with a deep, unshakable sense of self-worth that no one else can give or take away. Now, here's where things get transformative. Imagine what your life could look like if instead of fearing disappointment or rejection, you started focusing on honoring yourself. What if you could say no without guilt, without hesitation, knowing that in doing so, you're genuinely respecting your own needs, time, and energy? Think about how empowering that could feel, knowing you're allowed to prioritize what's right for you. By saying no to the things that deplete you, you're actually opening up space in your life to say yes to the things that truly nourish you. Imagine investing that freed up energy into your passions, your goals, and your well-being instead of pouring it into things that barely make you feel alive. This journey is about more than just learning to say no. It's about completely redefining where your sense of worth comes from. Too often, we attach our value to what others think of us, thinking that if we can just keep everyone else happy, then we'll be worthy of love and respect. But this belief is built on shaky ground. one that shifts every time someone changes their opinion. What if, instead, you could place your sense of worth on something that's steady and lasting, on a foundation built on what truly matters to you? Imagine no longer needing constant validation from others, and instead feeling a quiet, steady confidence that you are enough exactly as you are, with or without their approval. Of course, embracing this new mindset isn't easy, and it likely won't be without some discomfort. There might be moments when you feel a twinge of guilt, questioning if it's okay to prioritize yourself. You might worry about the reactions of others, especially those who have grown accustomed to you always saying yes. And yes, some people might even push back, struggling to understand this new boundary-setting version of you. But that's okay. Remember, those who truly care about you will want you to be fulfilled and will understand that sometimes that means saying no. And for those who don't support you in this journey, well, maybe it's time to reflect on why their opinion has been carrying so much weight. Maybe it's time to ask yourself if their approval is worth the cost of sacrificing your own happiness. Because here's the truth. People-pleasing doesn't just drain your energy, it keeps you from showing up fully as yourself. When you're constantly molding yourself to fit what others want, you lose touch with what you want, with what feels right for you. And if you're not careful, years can slip by with you living as a shadow of who you truly are, always giving but never feeling truly fulfilled. The path to honoring yourself isn't always smooth. It requires courage to step away from old patterns and embrace the idea that it's okay to put your own needs first. But it also brings a freedom like no other. Imagine a life where you're no longer driven by the need to impress others, where you can make choices that align with your values and passions. Imagine feeling secure enough in yourself that other people's opinions no longer determine how you see yourself. The beautiful irony of this journey is that by letting go of people-pleasing, you're actually able to connect with people more authentically. You're no longer hiding parts of yourself to fit into what you think others want. Instead, you're showing up as your true self, open, grounded, and honest. And that kind of authenticity attracts the right people, the ones who appreciate you for who you really are, not for what you can do for them. So, the next time you feel that familiar pressure to say yes when you want to say no, take a pause. Remind yourself of the journey you're on and ask, am I doing this because it aligns with my needs, or because I'm afraid of what they'll think if I don't? By honoring yourself, you're not only setting boundaries, you're building a foundation of self-worth that's unshakable. This is about more than just learning a new habit. It's about reclaiming your life and saying yes to the things that make you feel alive. Because you deserve to live a life that feels right for you, one where your value is defined by you alone. People-pleasing is often a mask we wear, a way to feel accepted, valued, and safe. Many of us have learned that by prioritizing others' needs and keeping everyone around us happy, we can secure their love and approval. But deep down, this habit can feel exhausting and unfulfilling. When we hide behind people-pleasing, we end up hiding our true selves, burying our own desires, opinions, and even our personality, all for the sake of being what we think others want us to be. This mask we wear may bring short-term peace, but over time, it erodes our self-worth and authenticity, creating a gap between who we are and who we show to the world. Imagine what life could feel like if, instead of bending to everyone else's wishes, you allowed yourself to show up just as you are. By taking off that mask of people-pleasing, you start to attract people who genuinely see and appreciate you for the person you truly are, not for the version of you that exists just to meet their needs. When you are authentic, you give others the opportunity to form genuine connections with you based on mutual respect and understanding, rather than convenience or obligation. This shift can feel liberating, as you realize that the relationships that remain are ones built on a foundation of honesty and shared values. But how do you start breaking free from the grip of people-pleasing? It begins with small, intentional actions. The next time someone asks you for a favor or expects you to go along with their plans, take a moment to pause. Instead of instinctively saying yes, take a breath and ask yourself, Do I actually want to do this? Does this align with my needs and priorities? This simple pause can be incredibly powerful. It gives you a moment to check in with yourself, to understand what you genuinely feel rather than reacting out of habit or obligation. Learning to say no doesn't mean you have to be harsh or dismissive. It can be as gentle as saying, "I'd really like to help, but I have other commitments that need my attention." Or, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I need to focus on my own priorities at the moment." When you decline in a respectful yet firm manner, you're setting a boundary that protects your time and energy without pushing others away. You're communicating that you value yourself enough to be honest about what you can or cannot give. This isn't selfish. It's necessary for your well-being. It's also important to remember that you don't owe anyone an apology for honoring your own needs. Many of us have been conditioned to feel guilty whenever we put ourselves first, but this guilt is often unfounded. By saying no or setting boundaries, you're not being rude or unkind. You're simply practicing self-respect. In fact, respecting your own needs can inspire others to do the same for themselves. You're showing them that it's okay to prioritize well-being and that relationships don't need to be built on sacrifice and self-neglect. As you continue to practice this shift, you'll likely encounter some resistance, both from yourself and from those around you. There might be moments of discomfort or fear of disappointing others. But remember, this journey is not about gaining everyone's approval. It's about reclaiming your sense of self. The relationships that truly matter will withstand this change, and those that fade away may have been dependent on your compliance rather than genuine connection. Over time, saying no to what doesn't serve you becomes a habit. You'll find it easier to honor your own needs, and the fear of letting others down will start to fade. Instead of feeling weighed down by expectations, you'll feel lighter and more in control of your own path. People who genuinely value you will respect your boundaries, and you'll feel more connected to yourself and to the life you want to create. By releasing the habit of people-pleasing, you're stepping into a life where you feel empowered, confident, and true to yourself. And that's a life where you can truly thrive, unburdened by the need to wear any mask. Choosing yourself is often misunderstood as selfishness, but in reality, it's an essential act of self-preservation. When you prioritize your own needs, you're not rejecting others or refusing to help. You're simply acknowledging that you deserve to live a life that aligns with your values, desires, and well-being. It's easy to slip into a habit of automatically saying yes to every request or demand, especially when we've been conditioned to think that putting others first is a sign of kindness. But each yes you give at the expense of your own happiness is a small denial of yourself, a way of saying that your own needs matter less. Over time, these choices accumulate, leaving you feeling depleted, resentful, and disconnected from who you truly are. The truth is, every time you choose to honor yourself by saying no to what doesn't serve you, you're reclaiming a piece of your identity. It might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to being the person everyone can count on. But in saying yes to yourself, you're reinforcing your worth, acknowledging that your time, energy, and happiness are valuable. This isn't a rejection of kindness or generosity. It's about balancing those qualities with self-respect. Imagine the difference it would make in your life if you treated your own needs with the same level of importance as you treat others. How much more fulfilled would you feel if you allowed yourself to be the main character in your own story? When you begin to make choices that reflect your true desires, you'll notice a shift in how you view yourself. You'll start to see that living in alignment with your values is empowering, and the validation you were once seeking externally starts to emerge from within. You're no longer driven by the need to be everything for everyone, but rather by the desire to be true to yourself. This shift isn't always easy. It may require you to make tough decisions or to let go of the fear of disappointing others. But the rewards of honoring your own truth far outweigh the discomfort of letting go of people-pleasing habits. In this process, it's essential to remember that those who genuinely care about you will understand and respect your boundaries. They may even admire your courage to choose what's best for yourself. And those who can't accept it, they may not have truly valued you for who you are, but for what you could provide. This realization can be painful, but it's also liberating. It allows you to focus on relationships that are mutual and fulfilling, rather than ones that drain you. Each choice you make in alignment with your true needs builds a foundation of self-worth that doesn't waver with others' opinions. Choosing yourself is not about being rigid or closing yourself off. It's about creating a space where your happiness is as significant as anyone else's. By prioritizing yourself, you're better equipped to engage with others from a place of genuine connection, not obligation. This doesn't mean you won't support the people you care about. It just means that you're giving from a place of abundance rather than depletion. So the next time you face a choice, ask yourself, will this serve my happiness and well-being? It's okay if the answer means saying no to someone else. Your life is meant to reflect your values, not just fulfill others' expectations. By choosing yourself, you're setting an example of self-respect and showing others that it's possible to live authentically. You're reclaiming the power to shape your own story, one choice at a time. Embrace this truth, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Choosing yourself is an act of courage, one that allows you to build a life rooted in self-acceptance, joy, and genuine fulfillment. If you found this message resonated with you, consider subscribing to Authentic Self-Love Audiobooks. We share insights on embracing your worth and living a balanced, meaningful life. And if you know someone who could benefit from hearing this, please share it with them. Life changes when you start valuing yourself, not just in theory, but in every choice you make. Thank you for watching, and remember, you deserve a life that honors who you truly are.